Good morning. This video titled Windows 10 Upgrade A to Z Remote Connection. This video is primarily going to deal with the topic of remote connections. Before I get into that though, I'm going to cover a couple things that I should have included in the overview video and just didn't think of at the time. One is that to point out that some people aren't going to need to watch all of the videos in this series, and you will be able to judge that as we go along. So this remote connection video, for instance, is really only going to be of interest to people that I am going to connect remotely to and assist them with their Windows 10 upgrade. If you're going to do the Windows 10 upgrade yourself, utilizing the information that I'm presenting, then you're really not going to need the bulk of the content in this video. So after I'm finished with this little bit of content that I should have covered in the overview, you can probably move on to the next video. The other thing that I wanted to mention is the naming strategy that I'm using for these videos. The Windows 10 upgrade A to Z, that'll stay consistent, and then in parentheses there'll be a number indicating the sequence that I'm creating these videos and presenting them. And at one point I thought I was going to include the each of the entire phases, meaning phase 1 would be one video, phase 2 would be one video, phase 3 and phase 4. And those phases again are phase 1 was planning, phase 2 is preparation, phase 3 was performing, and phase 4 was post upgrade. So, but the elements that are going to be contained in those phases, some of them are worthy of a standalone video, and they're going to be long enough for that to be justifiable. And it will help you as a viewer to be able to look through the playlist and review specific content that you need to review for whatever your purposes are. And even for a person who's not doing the Windows 10 upgrade, maybe you already have Windows 10 upgrade, I think the videos regarding image backup and profile backup will be of interest to you because those stand alone on their own merit. After finishing the entire upgrade process, there will be other videos after that that will contain recovery processes. So how do you restore an image backup? How do you restore a profile backup? Those will be significant for a person who is doing the upgrade themselves in the event that something goes wrong and you need to restore. You're going to need to be able to watch those restore videos. Now, if you're doing all of this on the one computer that you're upgrading and you don't have another computer, then you probably want to watch those videos before beginning the upgrade process. Otherwise, you're not going to know how to do it. You would have to find some other computer to accomplish that. So those are one other thing to cover that I would have liked to have put in the overview is that some people, upon watching these videos or a portion of these videos, may just throw up their hands and say, oh, heck with this, I'm just going to buy a new computer. And that's justifiable. However, when you get that new computer, how are you going to get your data onto that computer? I would suggest that you watch the videos about the profile backup and profile restore. Now, I don't know what video number those are going to be at this time, but you can look through the video playlist, the Windows 10 upgrade playlist, and you'll see in parentheses all those different subheadings and be able to find the one that you want. If you're not familiar with a video playlist on YouTube, I will eventually have links or maybe beginning cards might be in the description. I don't know where I'm going to put it yet, to where you can just click on that link and get to the playlist. But if you're watching this video before I get around to that, then you can go to my YouTube channel. Now, the way you do that is this video you're watching right now, assuming that you're watching it on a computer, there's that little circle icon that has my profile photo. It's not actually a photo, it's a caricature of my face. If you click on that, that'll take you to my YouTube channel, and there are tabs. And one of those tabs will take you to the playlists. And in the playlists, among others, you'll find a playlist for Windows 10 Upgrade. If you click on that, then you'll be able to see all the videos for this series and pick which ones you want to watch at any particular time. All right, that is all that I wanted to include that actually belonged in the overview. Now I'm going to move forward with the remote control session. If you're not interested in how I'm going to be establishing the remote control, then you can skip along to the next video. I will mention to you that this computer that I'm going to do demonstrate the remote control is the same computer I'm going to use through this entire demonstration of the Windows 10 upgrade process. And one other piece, I have concluded that I'm probably not going to get any subscribers or any viewers until I pursue a form of publicizing these videos. As it is right now, I've got what I think is a decent thumbnail image for the videos and decent titles for the videos. But I think they're still going to rank so low in the searches that anytime somebody searches for Windows 10 upgrade, they're probably going to have to click through many, many pages before they get to my video, and that'll probably be pretty rare. So I think I'm going to be able to continue doing these live streams without the pressure of actually having viewers in the chat room, so that I can get accustomed to how to do live streams, because it's still a learning curve for me. But as I'm recording this, I still have a total of 21 subscribers that came to me from years ago through a different pursuit. And nobody in the chat, nobody showing is actually in this live stream, which it is a public live stream. So in my twisted mind, it's actually going to be kind of fun to be doing these public live streams in a stealth fashion. And one element of that is if I really mess up, I can delete it and start over again. It's kind of cheating in the world of live stream, but I don't know if that'll actually happen. So once again, here we're going to turn attention to the live stream. Now I'm going to change to a different camera view here. This shows you the computer that I'm going to be using for this. Oops, that wasn't the right key. Try that again. Here, this one, it takes a few seconds before I see the image. Yeah, so this is the computer that I'm going to use. It's one of my laptop computers. I have not turned this computer on for a long time. So I know it's obsolete in terms of updates, and we'll be looking at that issue as well. But before I attempt to do the updates, I'm going to establish the remote session. So I'm going to start that just with turning this computer on, and this computer literally has not been turned on for quite some time. And I'm going to even check to see how long it's been after we get the remote session started. So I'm showing the laptop computer and the screen that I'm going to be connecting remotely to it is in the background. That's this screen back here. That's the one that I'm going to be using as my remote connection. Now here I'm going to log on, and let's see, what was the password I used on this one? You know what I'm going to do? I need to start figuring this out. So I'm going to switch back to the camera view, camera 1. There's camera 1. So now I can type in a password without exposing it to everybody on YouTube. And then I'll go back to camera 2. All right, there we go. There's a whole bunch of icons on the desktop. Now let me point out, when I'm connecting to computers remotely, in order to respect people's privacy, before I allow their screen to be displayed to everybody on YouTube, I'm going to find out from the owner of the computer whether they're okay with all their icons being visible. If not, I'll have them right click on the desktop area, come to View, and then this option here that says Show Desktop Icons, I'll have them click on that to remove that check mark, and so that hides all of the icons, because sometimes people have names of icons on their desktop that have some kind of a personal revelation that maybe they don't want to put out on YouTube. I'm not really concerned about that, so I'm going to go ahead and clutter the screen up, and I don't even know what's on there. So if you're one of those people that's interested in snooping, well, knock yourself out. Next, I'm going to open a web browser. I don't care to use Mozilla Firefox. There's Google Chrome. But you know what? Instead of using Google Chrome, it's possible that some viewers that I'm going to connect remotely to won't have Google Chrome installed, but everybody's going to have Internet Explorer. So down here in the bottom left corner, next to the Start button on this computer, is the Internet Explorer. It has a letter, looks like a letter E. Single click on any icons on the taskbar in order to launch that program. And I'm going to click no on this question about, do I want Internet Explorer to be the default browser? So I'm clicking no and don't ask again. Now, perhaps you noticed I've got an Ethernet cable connected to this computer. I do have Wi-Fi available, but anytime that I can use Ethernet, I prefer to do that. It's just more stable, less things that can go wrong. Now, I'm going to go up to the address bar, and I'm going to want viewers to click in the address bar, not in a search field, and type the entire address, www.logmein.com, C-O-M, and then press enter. I don't want them to use a search engine because it's difficult to guide them through which search result to click on if I can't see their screen. And remember, we have not established the remote connection yet. You know what? Even I typed that I typed that wrong. I'm clicking back in the address field, www.logmein123.com. So the address is actually logmein123.com, and press enter. And we should get to a screen that's asking us to enter a 6-digit code. You can't see that, what it says right there, I'm sure, off of the camera that you're looking at, but it says support connection here, and then in this square here in very faded out gray letters it says enter 6-digit code. Now I'm going to switch your view now to my screen, which is a Control 2 on my keyboard. I have that set up for. And for those of you who are familiar with live streaming, I do have a X keys device arriving today. So you'll see that in future videos. Now let's go ahead and do the Control 3, which adds me in the bottom right corner of the screen. Now, on my computer, I launch LogMeIn Rescue, And this opens the Log Me In Rescue screen. And then on this button up here is for a new session. So I click New Session, and then in here I type the name of the person that I'm connecting to, and you see there in parentheses that it says optional. I don't have to type a name in, but I'm going to so that I can keep track of who I'm connected to. So in my case, I'm going to actually be using the name that I refer to this computer as, which is CAC, that's my business name, Computer Age Consulting. And then I use the last 4 digits of the serial number on this computer, which is 1F3T. And that's a designation that I recognize as this particular computer. When I'm connecting to viewers that I'm going to help remotely with the Windows 10 upgrade, I'll be most likely putting in their name or maybe their YouTube screen name if they don't want their real name to be visible. Then I click on Create PIN Code, and it shows me a PIN code of 887481. Now I'm going to switch back to the camera 2 and show you here where I'm typing in 887481. And then I've got a message, Start Download. I click on the Start Download button. And down here at the bottom, I've got a message, do you want to run or save? You know what, I'm going to move the microphone here. Do you want to run or save support Log Me In Rescue? And the choice we want is run. Now, if this had been done with Google Chrome or Mozilla Firefox or another web browser, the way that a download happens and the way you install a program is different. So Internet Explorer gives us a consistent way to do it, since from one computer to another of viewers' computers, I don't know what browser they're going to have, but I know they're going to have Internet Explorer. So now I click on Run. Now we're waiting. Some people get anxious at this point. They're expecting to see something else and they start clicking around. We don't want to. So now this window comes up indicating a support representative will be with you shortly. Now I'm going to switch back to my computer screen with the picture-in-picture and show you what happens next on my screen. So I can close this window by clicking on that close button right there. And then up here, I show that their computer is waiting. It's waiting for me. So I right-click on this line and choose Start. And then I have an option here for Launch Remote Control Session or Launch Desktop Viewing Session. Now, I'm typically going to recommend or offer the desktop viewing session. And I mentioned this before because I want to be forced to talk the person through each step of the operation. That way I know that I am actually providing instructional content to anybody who's watching the video. Also, I think for anybody involved in this, it will be a rather satisfying experience for them to actually have done the work themselves. So that's typically the way I'm going to do it. Now, I don't do that with my local clients. With my local clients, I typically do this Restart Applet System service, and I do the Launch Remote Control, and I also do a thing over here called Unattended Access. That all gives me the capability of connecting to my clients' computers remotely when they are not there, as long as they've left their computers on, so that I can do some maintenance procedures or whatever. Now, when I disconnect, a message is left on their screen indicating that I was connected. So that's a safeguard built into the Log Me In system to prevent nefarious intentions. I cannot connect to their computer without them knowing about it. They might not know about it in advance, but they'll know about it afterward. And when they get my invoice, they can see what I was doing in that instance if they care to. So here I'm going to click on Launch Desktop Viewing Session. Then I'm going to switch you back to Camera 2. And so we've got a message here on Camera 2. Doug Betts would like to view your desktop. To protect your privacy, close confidential information. The session may be recorded. Static images of your screen may be captured. To revoke all permissions, click the red X on the toolbar or press pause break on the keyboard. To permanently end the session, close the application. So this shows where somebody they have control over this. They can stop the session anytime that they want to. Now, the connection just dropped out. You might have heard that little bleep, bleep, bleep sound, and that was a loss of the connection. So I think it was because I waited too long without clicking on that. So I'm going to switch back to my desktop screen and show here. I'm going to click again on the launch launch desktop viewing session, and then switch back to Camera 2 and then click on this OK button. So we can't wait too long to do that. All right. Now go back to my desktop screen. And here I'm actually seeing the desktop of the remote computer. Now I can't click on anything. If I come up over here, let's say I'll go click on choose add-ons, nothing happens. All right, I really have no control over their computer with this type of connection. Now when we're working with connecting to viewers' computers and helping them through this process, there's going to be phase 1 for planning. Perhaps on another day we're going to do phase 2 for preparation. It could be another day that we're actually going to perform the upgrade, and probably the same day we'll do the post-upgrade adjustments. So because of all of that, for some viewers, we may come up here to Unattended Access, and let me see, credentials required. At connection, technician enters administrative credentials. We're going to change to this option. At setup, customer enters credentials at setup of unattended access. You know what? I changed my mind. We're not going to do this because this still gives unattended access. And that's not something I'm willing to do for these types of connections. I haven't even tried the unattended access for what I thought I was going to be able to do. I thought I was going to be able to do it so that the user has to be available at each time. Well, now here's a way we could do it, and also. Nope, I can't do that. I haven't preset that up. All right, for now, we're just going to have to establish a remote connection each time. Well, after the viewer that I'm helping with the upgrade has gone through this process once, it'll be easier the next time around because they'll be familiar with it. So we're just going to go with that. Now, if I click on this full, let's see, which screen am I on? Yeah, I'm on my desktop screen. If I click on this full screen button, that's going to bring us up to full screen so that I can see the entire image. But notice we've got this black border around the boundary. I can then come up here to the remote control toolbar and click on this option called Configure View Settings, and then choose Stretch to Window. So now all of what you see here is the remotely connected computer visible on my desktop. The only thing on my desktop that the remote viewer or the remote person does not see is this control bar up here, this control toolbar, and has different controls that I can utilize just for managing the remote session. But still, I cannot click on anything in here. If I click on this X, notice when I float the mouse over it, it doesn't even highlight, doesn't reflect that I've clicked on it or floated my mouse over it. Now my mouse is in the middle of the screen there. I'm going to manipulate the mouse on the remote computer, and you'll see there's another mouse arrow now visible on the screen. So that's the person who's operating the remote computer. And I'm going to be talking that person through everything that they need to do, because I cannot do it. The way we set up the remote connection, I cannot click on things. Okay, so that is the setting up of the remote connection. Now, the remote viewer, how am I going to refer to them? When I'm actually dealing with a person, I'm going to be using hopefully their first name, if they're okay with that. If not, then maybe their YouTube screen name. So I'm going to call this person Edward. That's right, my middle name is Edward. So I'll call this person Edward throughout the rest of this series with this computer. So Edward, click on the minimize button there to minimize Internet Explorer. And then Edward, go over to that Computer Age Consulting chat window and click the minimize button. So now this is where we'll actually start doing the work. Now, at any moment that Edward doesn't like what's happening, if he wants to end the session, what that takes is coming down here to that chat window and then come up here to the X in the upper right corner of the chat window and click the left mouse button, and it says, are you sure you want to end this support session? And you click yes. And there's a little blurp sound on my computer, and you can see on my Log Me and Rescue screen that right here on the status column it says closed for that connection, and the launch remote control button is not available. The launch desktop viewing button is not available. So now I can right click here and then choose end to shut down the connection on my computer. Now we're going to be doing these on separate days, so we're going to need to establish the connection again. So the next day, in order to establish the connection, the procedure is going to be a little bit quicker. So we're going to demonstrate that now. This is a new session for me as far as Log Me and Rescue is concerned, because we did not set up any kind of reconnect capability. So I can click on new session here, and then I'm going to switch you to camera 2 and launch Internet Explorer from the left side of the taskbar on this computer down here. Now it's still on that website, but the person may have navigated to some other website by now, so let's simulate that by clicking the home button. Whatever website is configured as the home page for this Internet Explorer, that's going to come up when I click the home button. And this computer is set up for Google. Now I don't want to type the web address down here because that's going to get us search results. And I'd rather not deal with having to talk a person into the right search result to click on, because sometimes that's a little difficult to communicate. So come up to the address bar, type www.logmein. Now at that point, this computer remembers that address. So probably as soon as you type the letter L, it's all there. You can just press the Enter key. Now it's asking for a 6-digit code. So back to my computer, I'll click on this button for Create PIN Code, and it's giving me 110753. Back to the remote computer, or camera 2, and type 110753. And click Start Download. We do have to do the download again. We can't go to the file that we downloaded on the last connection. It won't work because it won't utilize this 6-digit PIN code. So we wait for a little while for it to come up, and come down here to this dialog window and click Run. And here's the Waiting for Technician window. So we switch back to my computer and close this window. Come up here to the customer. Oh, I didn't type in. I should have typed in Edward for the customer's name. I didn't think of that. Right click and choose Start. And then launch desktop viewing session. Switch back to camera 2. And the key thing here is Doug Betts would like to view your desktop. If I had chosen remote control, it would have been different verbiage there. So as long as you see that view your desktop, you know that I am unable to click on things. And so we click OK here. Switching back to my desktop. And then next I would click full screen. And then go to this drop-down menu and choose Stretch to Window. If I didn't do those two steps, then the image is kind of small and it's difficult to read things, and certainly for purposes of this video, it would be hard to read. Now, I know I'm gonna make this mistake sometimes, because I'm accustomed to being able to click on things, because for my local clients, I'm always connecting with remote control. So if I move my mouse over to something and try to click on it, it's not going to respond. And oh yeah, I need to ask Edward to click on that. So you might see me making that mistake once in a while. Okay, so now I can end the remote session by going up to my remote toolbar up here. I can restore the image back to the fit in window size, or fit to window size. And I can also exit the full screen mode. That gets me back to this mode. And I can end the session right here where it says End Desktop View. Oops, I'm not showing you that, am I? Sorry, I'm going to make that mistake a few times too. Keep in mind, I'm a rookie at this live streaming thing. So here's that End Desktop View. All right, I'll go back to where I was and show those steps. Full screen here and back to Stretch to Window. So again, for me to end the session, I come up here to the remote control toolbar. I can click on this drop-down menu for Configure View Settings and go to Fit in Window, but I really don't have any need to ever do that. More likely I'll go to this button right here to exit full screen mode, and then come down here to End Desktop View. So there I've ended the desktop view, but notice that this button for Launch Desktop Viewing Session is available. Well, that's because Edward has not actually ended the connection. I just ended the desktop view. Now I could come over here to Launch Remote Control Session if for some reason Edward has decided that he wants me to do that. And then he'll get a question on his screen if he wants to allow remote control session. Or I could go back to this Launch Desktop Viewing Session. If Edward's computer is rebooting, what'll happen is the viewing session will end, the connection will be lost, and the LogMeIn Rescue will be trying to reconnect. Once Edward's computer restarts, the connection will come back. Sometimes I'll have to click on a button to make that happen, but sometimes it's automatic. So next thing I do here is right click on the session entry for Edward and choose End. And that ends the session from my point of view. Up in the top right corner, I can click Close. So I think that's about it for this video. Look, we're about 35 minutes according to the monitoring computer I'm looking at. Oh, by the way, why don't I show you that? Switch back to camera 2, and maybe you've already noticed this, but when I'm on that camera 2, you can see the second computer that I have operational here. Why hasn't that switched yet? Well, let me try that again. It's Control 6 on my keyboard is my hotkey. There it is. Okay, you can see on this screen over here, I have a monitoring session of the live stream. It's about 4 seconds delayed, and I have the settings kind of aggressive for the least amount of what's the word they use? I don't remember, but it says as short a wait time as possible. On the other settings, it was more like 45 seconds. So back to camera 1, and when I hit those keys, you see the new camera view right away. I don't see it until a few seconds. For confirmation, that's probably enough for this session. The next session, you'll see it in the list of videos, but it is going to be the planning session for this laptop. Actually, I'm probably going to look at updates on that first before we get into the planning session, because I know that computer has not been turned on for quite some time and it's probably obsolete for updates. Well, that's an issue that we're going to need to deal with, because in order to do the Windows 10 upgrade, your computer should be on the most recent consolidated update for Windows 7. So I want to show how to look at that, evaluate that, and then install that update if needed. All right, so that's it for now. Catch you next time. Bye.